the Harbinger. The observation deck of Celestia Station afforded Admiral Vex Orion the most breathtaking view in the Galactic Confederation, 7 planetary rings arcing against the backdrop of twin suns, with the gleaming spires of the capital city below. It was a view that had inspired countless poems and paintings across 1,000 worlds. Today, that view is marred by an impossibility. How long has it been there? Vex asked. 4 of his 6 eyes narrowed as he studied the object through reinforced glass. Commander Jax Tullian stood rigidly beside him, mandibles clicking with nervous energy. 27 minutes, sir. It appeared without warning. No hyperspace signature, no quantum bubble collapse. One moment empty space, the next. The vessel hung motionless against the stars, a massive elongated teardrop of midnight black material that seemed to drink in the surrounding light. No running lights, no visible propulsion systems, no communication arrays. Just smooth, seamless darkness. And we've received nothing? No transmissions. Vex's dorsal ridge stiffened, a physiological response his species had evolved over millennia of warfare. Nothing conventional, sir, Jax replied. But there is something. A signal pattern our systems can interpret. Dr. Corey from Xenoarchaeology is analyzing it now. Vex turned away from the viewport. Take me to her. Dr. Nadia Corey had transformed her laboratory into a chaotic landscape of holographic projections, ancient artifacts, and scribbled notes. The diminutive Arcturian moved with frantic energy between displays, her translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that reflected her excitement. Admiral, she acknowledged without looking up. I've been expecting you. Tell me what we're dealing with, Doctor, Vex said, ducking beneath a suspended projection of what appeared to be an ancient starship design. Nadia froze, her 4-fingered hands hovering over a control panel. Something impossible. She gestured toward the central hologram, a rotating model of the mysterious vessel. This design, it's human. The word hung in the air like a blasphemy. Jax visibly recoiled. Humans have been extinct for 3 centuries, Vex stated flatly. And yet, Nadia replied, here we are. She manipulated the controls, and the hologram shifted to display ancient drawings and fragmentary schematics. These are from the Terran archives, preserved from before the Great Silence. The similarities are undeniable. Could it be an automated vessel? Some relic that's been drifting through deep space? Jax suggested. Nadia shook her head. This isn't a derelict. The material composition shows signs of recent manufacturing within the last decade. And there's more. She pulled up another display showing a waveform pattern. This signal they're broadcasting. It's using a compression algorithm that's distinctly human in design. My team just finished the decryption. With a gesture, she activated the audio. A voice filled the room, deep, resonant, undeniably organic. We remember the pact. 300 years of silence. 300 years of patience. The debt comes due. The message repeated once, then silence. What pact? Vex demanded. Nadia's skin darkened to a deep purple. I don't know. There's nothing in any historical record about an agreement with humans before their extinction. Because there wasn't one, came a new voice from the doorway. They turned to see Intelligence Officer Darius Reed, his cybernetic eye whirring as it adjusted to the room's lighting. Half of his face was organic, handsome, olive-skinned, with a strong jaw, while the other half was a marvel of metallic implants and sensor arrays, the result of a diplomatic mission gone wrong on the frontier. Officer Reed, Vex acknowledged with a curt nod. You have information? I have questions, Darius corrected, stepping into the lab. His movements were fluid, almost predatory. Questions about why certain historical archives were sealed under Confederation Security Directive 773, the highest classification level. What archives? Nadia asked, her bioluminescence flickering with interest. Files relating to the final days of humanity's existence, Darius replied. Supposedly sealed to prevent cultural contamination from a species that practiced unrestricted AI development and genetic manipulation. Vex's ridge flattened, a sign of distress among his kind. On whose authority? The First Council, Darius said. Founders of the Confederation itself. A heavy silence fell over the laboratory. The First Council was revered throughout the galaxy. 13 species who had joined together after the human extinction to create a new galactic order based on harmony and controlled development. You're suggesting. Jax began, but couldn't finish the thought. I'm suggesting nothing, Darius said coldly. I'm reporting facts. 3 hours ago, I used my security clearance to access those files, only to find them corrupted, not damaged by time or technical failure, deliberately erased. Recently, Nadia's skin paled to almost white. Someone is hiding the truth about humanity's end. Or their survival, Darius added. The laboratory's communication panel chimed. Vex activated it with a gesture. Admiral, came the voice of Lieutenant Zara Vox, his bridge officer. The unknown vessel is moving. They reconvened on the command deck of the Confederation flagship Eternal Vigilance, watching as the black ship glided with impossible grace through the defensive grid surrounding Celestia. Escort vessels moved to intercept but maintained distance. No one wanted to provoke an unknown entity of such size. It's heading directly for the memorial spire, Zara reported, her reptilian features tense with concentration as she monitored the tactical display. The memorial spire, a 1,000-meter crystalline monument erected to commemorate the founding of the Confederation and honor the extinct species whose technologies had been incorporated into the new galactic order. Humanity featured prominently among them. All defense platforms on standby, Vex ordered. Weapons locked, but withheld. Let's see what they do. The vessel slowed as it approached the spire, coming to rest alongside the massive structure. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then a beam of intense white light shot from the ship to the spire. No damage detected, Jax reported, bewildered. It appears to be scanning. The beam continued for exactly 60 seconds before shutting off. Then the ship began broadcasting again, not the cryptic message about a pact, but something else entirely. This time, it wasn't audio but data, massive streams of it flooding every communication channel in the system. What is this? Vex demanded. Nadia, who had joined them on the bridge, was already analyzing the incoming data. It's historical records. Human historical records. But different from anything in our archives. Her voice trembled. Admiral, these aren't records of human extinction. These are records of human evacuation. A planned withdrawal from known space. Impossible, Jax insisted. We have documented evidence of the cataclysm, the civil war that destroyed their homeworld and colonies. Evidence provided by whom? Darius asked quietly. The question hung in the air, unanswered. There's more, Nadia continued, her fingers dancing across the controls. These records contain something called the Sentinel Protocol, a plan to leave behind observers within the developing Confederation. Individuals who would appear to be members of various species, but were genetically modified humans, with suppressed memories, programmed to activate upon the return of a vessel exactly like the one outside. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Vex felt a cold dread settle into his bones. How many? He finally asked. Nadia looked up, her eyes wide. Thousands. Placed in positions throughout Confederation society, military, science, governance, over generations. Sleeper agents, Darius said, the organic side of his face pale. Waiting for a signal. As if on cue, the ship broadcast once more. A simple series of tones, repeating in a pattern reminiscent of an ancient human musical scale. Across the Confederation, on hundreds of worlds and thousands of minds, something awakened. In her quarters aboard the security vessel Righteous Fury, Lieutenant Talia Voss clutched her head as pain lanced through her skull. Images flooded her consciousness, faces she didn't recognize, places she'd never been, a life she hadn't lived, a family she never knew she had. As the pain subsided, Talia looked at her reflection in the mirror. Her Centaurian features, the characteristic blue-tinted skin, the delicate gill structures at her neck, were still there. But something in her eyes had changed. Something ancient. Something human. Something that remembered. The pact had been broken. The silence was over. And the debt would be paid. Awakening. Lieutenant Talia Voss stared at her trembling hands, no longer certain they were truly hers. The blue-tinted skin that had defined her Centaurian identity remained unchanged, but her perception of it had transformed completely. Every memory she'd ever cherished now felt suspect. Fabrications layered atop a truth that had been buried deep within her genetic code. Identification, Lieutenant Talia Voss. Security clearance, Omega 7. Specialized training, close-quarters combat, xenolinguistics, tactical infiltration. She recited her credentials aloud, trying to anchor herself to something familiar as another wave of foreign memories crashed through her consciousness. True identity, she whispered, the words feeling both alien and natural on her tongue. Cassandra Thorne. Human. Sentinel Protocol Asset 4726. Mission: observe and integrate until awakening. Her quarters aboard the Righteous Fury suddenly felt like a prison, a cell designed not to keep others out but to keep her contained. Talia, or Cassandra, wasn't sure which name belonged to her anymore. Both felt simultaneously true and false, like two overlapping realities fighting for dominance. A chime from her communications panel interrupted her existential crisis. Lieutenant Voss, came the voice of Captain Garth Nexus. Report to the bridge immediately. We're being deployed to Celestia Station. Acknowledged, she responded automatically, her training overriding her turmoil. As she fastened her uniform, she caught sight of her reflection again. The face that looked back was hers, yet somehow not, like seeing herself through a distorted lens. The Sentinel Protocol was rewriting her, awakening what had been dormant. And across the Confederation, thousands like her were experiencing the same awakening. Admiral Vex Orion stood before the Confederation High Council, his posture rigid despite the exhaustion that weighed on him after 48 sleepless hours. The vessel remains in stationary orbit beside the memorial spire, he reported. No further transmissions have been detected since the initial data burst. Our attempts to establish communication have been ignored. Chancellor Zalthax, the ancient Andromedan who had led the council for 2 decades, leaned forward, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light. And the contents of this transmission? What have your experts determined? Vex hesitated, aware that his next words would reshape galactic history. Dr. Corey's team confirms that the records appear authentic. They suggest that humanity did not destroy itself as our histories claim. Rather, they made a coordinated retreat from known space 3 centuries ago. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Counselor Mary Azan, representative of the Peldari ascendancy, raised a delicate tendril. For what purpose would an entire species abandon their territory? And why return now? The records speak of a pact, Vex replied carefully. An agreement between human leadership and... He paused, bracing himself. The 13 founding species of the Confederation. The chamber erupted into chaos. Chancellor Thax pounded his crystalline appendage against the podium, demanding order. This is preposterous, thundered Counselor Drakvorn of the Terrellian Imperium. The Confederation was founded decades after humanity's destruction. There could be no such pact. From his position near the entrance, Intelligence Officer Darius Reed watched the proceedings with a calculating gaze. The cybernetic half of his face remained impassive, but his human eye reflected something deeper, recognition, perhaps, or fear. Supreme Admiral Jalith awaits your orders regarding the vessel. Vex continued once the chamber quieted. The defense fleet stands ready. Chancellor Thax's crystalline form dimmed slightly, a sign of deep contemplation among his kind. These claims of human infiltrators among us. What evidence supports this? Before Vex could answer, the chamber doors burst open. Dr. Nadia Khoury rushed in, flanked by security personnel who had clearly failed to restrain her. Forgive the interruption, she gasped, her translucent skin flashing urgent patterns, but I found something you must see immediately. Dr. Khoury's discovery had been hidden in plain sight, embedded in the molecular structure of the memorial spire itself. The human vessel's scan had triggered dormant data sequences in the crystal, revealing a message that had waited 3 centuries to be found. The council members, Admiral Orion, Darius Reed, and Dr. Khoury gathered in the private projection chamber beneath the council hall. The holographic display showed recordings that none had ever seen, meetings between human representatives and the 13 species that would later form the Confederation. We offer you our worlds, said a human woman in an antiquated uniform. Our colonies, our resources, our technologies. In exchange, you will allow us safe passage beyond the galactic rim. You will record our end as a tragedy of our own making. And you will swear that when we return, as we inevitably will, you will honor our claim to what was once ours. The recording shifted to show documents being signed, hands and appendages of various forms sealing the pact that would reshape galactic history. They gave up everything, Nadia whispered. Why? Because they knew something, Darius said, his voice distant. Something that made leaving their only option. The final recording showed the same human woman, older now, speaking directly to future viewers. To those who witness our return, we did not abandon our worlds out of fear or weakness, but out of necessity. What we discovered in the void between galaxies could not be faced with the technology or unity we possessed. We needed time. We needed evolution. The sentinels we leave behind will remember when the time comes. The debt will be paid, not in vengeance, but in salvation. What comes from beyond will not distinguish between human or alien. It comes for all life. The recording ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. Chancellor Thax's crystalline form had dimmed to nearly black. "This cannot be made public," he finally said. "The implications would tear the Confederation apart." "With respect, Chancellor," Vex replied, "I believe that may be inevitable now." Aboard the Righteous Fury, Talia Voss moved through the corridors with purpose. The ship had docked with Celestia Station, and she had been assigned to an advanced security team tasked with establishing a perimeter around the memorial spire. The human vessel still hovered nearby, silent and waiting. Her mind felt clearer now. The memories had settled into a coherent narrative. She understood her dual nature, the mission that had been coded into her DNA generations ago. She was both Talia Voss of Centauri Prime and Cassandra Thorne, descendant of Earth. Both were real. Both were her. As her team approached the spire's base, she felt a pull toward the black ship, not a physical sensation but an instinctive recognition. Her team didn't notice as she gradually distanced herself from the group, moving closer to where the vessel's shadow fell across the spire's crystalline surface. "Lieutenant Voss," a voice called from behind her. She turned to find Darius Reed watching her, his cybernetic eye whirring as it scanned her vital signs. "Officer Reed," she acknowledged, keeping her voice steady. "I wasn't informed you would be joining the security detail." "I'm not here officially," he replied, stepping closer. "I'm here for you, Cassandra." The use of her human name froze her in place. "How did you?" "Because I am like you," he said quietly. Asset 3185. "My awakening came earlier than planned, a side effect of the cybernetic reconstruction after my injury. For years, I've been alone with the truth, waiting." Talia studied him with new eyes, recognizing now what she had missed before, the subtle anatomical differences that his cybernetics didn't quite disguise, the mannerisms that weren't quite Tyrellian. "There are thousands of us," Darius continued, "in every sector, every level of Confederation society. Not to destroy it, but to prepare it." "Prepare it for what?" she asked, though the buried memories were already providing the answer. "For the truth about why humanity left," he said grimly. "For what they found in the dark between galaxies. For what follows them back now." On the main viewer, the black human ship accelerated toward the dimensional rifts, its smooth surface suddenly transforming, panels shifting, weapons systems emerging from hidden compartments. It had concealed its true nature until this moment. "Broadcast to all Confederation forces," Vex ordered. "Stand down. Do not engage either the human vessel or the unknown entities. Repeat, stand down." "Admiral," Chancellor Thax protested, "you exceed your authority." Vex turned to face the council, his ridge fully extended in determination. 300 years ago, your predecessors made a pact. They accepted humanity's worlds in exchange for a promise that when humans returned, their claim would be honored. That debt comes due now, but not in the way anyone expected. On the tactical display, the human vessel engaged the emerging entities with weapons unlike anything the Confederation had ever developed, beams of concentrated energy that seemed to fold space itself around their targets. "They didn't come back for retribution," Vex continued. "They came back because whatever they found out there has followed them home, to the worlds that were once theirs." "And the Sentinels?" asked Counselor Zan. "These human infiltrators among us." "Not infiltrators," came a new voice. Darius Reed entered the chamber, Lieutenant Talia Voss at his side. "Ambassadors. Bridges between what humanity has become and what the Confederation could be." Talia stepped forward, her posture reflecting both her Centaurian training and something older, something human. The Confederation was built on a foundation of deception, but it doesn't have to remain that way. Humanity doesn't want its worlds back, it wants an alliance. Against what comes from the void. Outside, the battle in space intensified. The human vessel moved with impossible agility, engaging entities that seemed to phase in and out of reality itself. More rifts were opening, and more human ships were emerging to join the defense. 300 years of silence, Talia said, echoing the message that had begun it all. 300 years of preparation. Now the debt comes due, not in surrender, but in unity. Admiral Vex Orion looked from the council to the battle raging above, then back to Talia and Darius, representatives of a species that had not been destroyed but transformed, returning not as conquerors but as guardians against a threat beyond imagination. Chancellor, Vex said firmly, I recommend we accept their offer of alliance. Immediately. As the council deliberated, Talia Voss gazed upward, feeling the pull of her dual heritage. The awakening was complete. The silence was broken. And in the darkness above, the future of both humanity and the Confederation would be decided, not by ancient pacts or buried secrets, but by what they chose to become together. What had begun as a harbinger of fear would end as a harbinger of hope, if they were wise enough to embrace it.